What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Legit Whiskey Reviews. And today I'm going to be going over 5 of the most overrated bottles I own. All right, so I got a good one today. So I started thinking about my collection recently, and I was just thinking, you know what? I have a lot of bottles that I consider overrated, and they're overrated to me for different reasons. Some, I have 5 here on my list, and some of these I enjoy, some I don't enjoy. Like most of these on my list, well, 3 of them I enjoy and 2 not so much. And then the reason I consider them overrated is because some are what it is for the price. Like I feel like it's too expensive for what it is. And some of them I consider overrated because of what it is for how hard it is to get. And then some I just consider overrated because they're pricey and they're not very good. So it's just a little mix of everything for what I consider overrated. And again, this is my opinion. Like, of course, taste is subjective. So something that I might consider overrated and not like so much, some of you guys might enjoy. And that's the beauty of this hobby of ours, is that, you know, the tastes are different and taste is subjective. So something I might consider overrated and not very good, somebody else might, you know, differ in their opinion. So that's what's great about it. So again, this is just my list, and we're gonna start off with number 1. So number 1, these are in no particular order actually, but the first one on my list for 5 of my most overrated whiskeys I own, number 1 is, this is coming from Proof and Wood. This is called the Representative, and this is barrel proof. This comes in, it says aged at least 4 years, so I'm not sure what the exact age is, but it's at least 4 years old. And again, this was bottled in summer of 2020. I think I've had this bottle for at least 2 to 3 years. So, and as you can see here, not too much is gone from this bottle. So this one, it does have the mash bill here. It's 75% corn, 21 rye, and 4% malted barley. And I believe these guys are non-producing distillers, or I think it says bottled by Proof and Wood, but I believe this is from MGP. I could be mistaken, but I know they make different ones. They make like the Senator, and some of their stuff is really good. But this one, I hadn't really heard of it, and I just took a chance on it, and I regret buying this one. This one comes in at 114.8 proof, so 57.4% ABV. And like I said, this is a barrel proof. It has a nice proof on it, and I think that's why I went for it. And it wasn't too pricey. I believe it was like $50 to $60, which in today's world for a barrel proof, you know, it's really not a lot. But just something that says barrel proof just for the sake of being barrel proof, I don't think, that's why I always say proof isn't everything. Some of us that enjoy our barrel proofs, our high proofs, sometimes it's not everything, because this one, from the first time I opened it until now, 2 years later, I haven't had it in a while, but maybe like 6 months ago. And it's just one of those bottles that, you know, I poured it and it's just like extremely sharp. It doesn't taste, it tastes very young. And just like I said, it's like punchy and just like, I just don't enjoy the flavors that come out of this one. So this is a big disappointment. And I consider this one like one of the most overrated bottles I own for that reason, just for like being barrel proof and just not very enjoyable. So that one was number 1 on my list. All right, so number 2 on my list. Now, this is coming out of barrel. You know, we all love like barrel seagrass. We love Dovetail. I love Dovetail. I love the one I reviewed recently with Whiskey One, Vantage. That's a great one. But you know, sometimes they do have a miss in their whole, you know, in the whole barrel collection there. And I consider this one. This one I don't hate. But it's just, I consider this one a mood pour, because I have to be in the mood to sip on this one, just because it's just so funky. It's like super funky and just like, and I like funky in my whiskeys and my bourbons, but just this one is just like too much. It's too much. It's like a little too sweet, and just a little too much going on, and one that I never really gravitate towards. I don't hate it, I do enjoy it from time to time, but I have to be in the mood for it. So number 2 on my list is Barrel Armida. And this one is bourbon whiskey finished in pear brandy, rum, and Sicilian Amaro cask. This one comes in at 112.46 proof, so 56.23% ABV. I've had this one for probably like a year and a half, and you can see I've tried to get into it, but like I said, I have to be in the mood for this one. And the reason I consider this one overrated, I know a lot of people have the same feeling with, as me on this bottle, like they don't enjoy it. But the reason I consider this one overrated is because of the price. This one comes in at around $80 to $90, and for that price you can get so many other bottles even cheaper that are way better than this one. So yeah, so that's the reason this one made the list, and like, again, this is a mood pour and just one that I don't really gravitate towards a lot. All right, so before I get to number 3 on my list, what I have in the glass here is the last one I'm going to be talking about on my list. Let's go to the nose on this one. And this one I actually do enjoy, but I consider this one a big overrated bottle in my opinion. Some of you guys might disagree with me, but I love the nose on this one. I'm getting raisins, cinnamon, a good amount of oak, some cherry, just a lot. It has a great nose. Tons of baking spices. Let's go to the palate. Cheers, everybody. Everything pretty much that I just mentioned just real quick translates to the palate. I feel like it falls short a little bit on the palate, on the finish, because I feel like the finish is not as long as I would like it to be. But overall, this is a great whiskey, but I'll tell you guys why at the end, why this one made the list. But number 3 on my list, this one, I feel like it's super overrated. This one, and it's weird because I can usually find it on the shelves at retail at $25. And it's one that's really highly sought after. I know a lot of people can't even find it in their states, but me, I usually go into the liquor store, certain liquor stores, and I can, not all the time, but just like 2 weeks ago, I went to the store and it was just a bunch of them sitting on the shelf, on the bottom shelf there. So they are findable, at least here where I'm at, and they're always at retail. They're never overpriced, but I've seen these bottles in other states for like over $100, which is absurd and ridiculous. Do not buy this for that much. But the bottle I'm talking about here is Weller Special Reserve. This is the green label. So this is a wheated bourbon. So what does wheated bourbon mean? It means when it's a wheated bourbon, it means the secondary grain in the mash bill is wheat. So primary is usually corn, and then wheat for a wheated bourbon is the secondary grain in the mash bill. But this one comes in at 90 proof, so 45% ABV, and of course, with anything else that's highly sought after. This comes from the Buffalo Trace Distillery. So yeah, and like I said, I can find this for $25, but why do I consider this overrated? I think it's okay for what it is, but it's nowhere near the reason for why it's sought after. So I think it's good, it's just not great. I mean, I have no idea why people go crazy or they go out of their way hunting for this and paying these absurd prices for this bourbon here. It's okay, it's not great. And I mean, I would even say I would rather go for like one of the Maker's Mark, like 46 cask strength, or even the regular's 46, or even one of the Maker's Mark, like the special releases they have, the FAEs or the any of the wood finishing series. I would say those will blow this one out of the water. I don't know. I do enjoy, one of my favorites though out of the Weller line is the Weller Antique 107, which you can probably see behind me here. Now that bottle, that one I would hunt, and that one I would pay a little extra for. But this here, I don't get it. So that's why this one made my list. All right, so Number 4 on my list. I know a lot of you watching might disagree with me as far as this one, because I know a lot of you guys do enjoy this one, but for me, this bourbon here has one of the best noses I've ever smelled, but it's so disappointing. I feel like it lacks on the palate, and it's highly sought after as well. So that's the reason this one made my list. And I can usually, lately especially, I've been seeing these on the shelf where I live, and always at retail, like anywhere between 40 to 50 bucks around there. But the one I'm talking about is Elijah Craig. This is Toasted Barrel. So this one comes in at 94 proof, so 47% ABV. And of course, this is toasted in new charred oak barrels. So something like this, like I said, it's one of the best noses I've ever smelled. But as far as like when it comes to the palate, I just feel like it falls short. It just doesn't do it for me. It's a little bit bitter. I feel like as far as the finish, I feel like it's okay, medium, but I feel like where it lacks for me the most is like the sweetness. Like there's not enough sweetness, there's too much bitterness, and not enough of those notes that I look like when I'm drinking like a toasted product or something double oaked or anything like that. I want the sweeter notes. I want the like I said, just overall the sweeter notes that you get in a toasted bourbon. And yeah, this one just doesn't do it for me. I don't know. I know a lot, like I said, a lot of you guys might disagree with me on this one, but this one just definitely was a big disappointment for me, and I consider highly overrated for me. All right, so last one on my list. This one is another one that I feel like some people might get pissed off over, but I gotta be honest. This one is another one that's super hard to find. It comes out one time a year. And this one, it comes out one time a year, and usually around September, or I think October, November. I think October is usually when I see it on the shelves, if you can find it. But the one I'm talking about here is a Midwinter Nights Dram. So yeah, a Midwinter Nights Dram. This one is coming out of Park City, Utah, so the High West Distillery. So this is a blend of their straight rye whiskeys, and it's finished in port barrels, so port wine barrels. This one here is 49.3% ABV, so not a super high proof. But the reason I consider this one overrated and pretty much number 1 on my list is because of 1, how hard it is to find, and 2, the price. It seems like every year, these used to be around $95 to $100, and it just seems like every year it just keeps going up and up and up. And I'm thinking like this year it's probably gonna be like 150 bucks. I think some stores had them for 150 bucks last year. But yeah, so that's the reason I consider this one my number 1 overrated bottle that I own. Is it good? Yes, it's very good. But is it as good as the price? No. And that's why I always tell new bourbon drinkers, like when you get into bourbon, don't just go for the most expensive bottle on the shelf, because just because something's expensive doesn't mean it's good. And we see that a lot, especially nowadays. And when you're looking in the shelves and at the liquor store, you see a lot of expensive bottles that just fall short. And this one, while this one doesn't fall short, I feel like the price is where I have a problem with. For what it is, because there's plenty of other finished rye whiskeys that'll definitely knock this one out. I feel like the one of them that comes to mind right now is the Sagamore Sherry finish. I know this one's port, but the Sagamore Sherry finish is leaps and bounds way better than this one. So that one's only about $60 to $70. So that's a big difference. So that's the reason I consider this number 1 on my list for most overrated whiskeys. So there you guys have it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Something different I wanted to do since I started thinking, looking at my shelf, and I have a lot of overrated bottles in my opinion. So if you guys enjoyed the episode, remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and keep it legit, and do it for the love of whiskey. Cheers.